Aloha mai kako, and welcome to the City and County of Honolulu Department of Parks and Recreation's Talk Story Festival Spring Edition. My name is Samantha Sun, and I am the Culture and Art Specialist. Started in 1989, the festival has taken on different forms in different venues. 2021's Talk Story Festival Spring Edition marks the first time that this event will be held in the spring. Before contact, the Hawaiians did not have a written language, and so stories and chants were repeated and passed down to preserve their history. Because of this, what we know as talking story is second nature to people in Hawaii. It is a way to share history, experiences, and lessons in a fun and engaging way. Hawaii's rich diversity makes the talk story experience even more special, where we can learn different cultures and histories from around the world.
Back to my childhood.
Our storytellers come from all over Oahu. One teller is joining us from Maui, and one splits his time between San Diego and Oahu. Every person has a story to tell, and we're fortunate to have these storytellers share their stories about family, growing up, some legends of Hawaii and Japan, and a story in Olelo, Hawaii. Get comfy wherever you may be, maybe grab a snack and a drink, and enjoy the Talk Story Festival Spring Edition. In the words of Manako Tanaka, mai ka lolowila a ke kelepona pa'alima, aloha pumehana ya kākou a pauloa. From the computer to the cell phone, a warm aloha to everyone.
So, we are in Waianae. We are at the farthest ahupua'a of the coastline, known as Keawa ula. Keawa ula, many of the kama'aina know Keawa ula as Yokohama. That is the Inoa Kapa Kapa, the nickname. But the Inoa Hawaii, the true Inoa Hawaii is Keawa ula, the reddish bay. And that's a mo'olelo for another year, another session, another theme. Let's stick to the theme of ho'omau, to persevere. As hi'iaka, wahine o ma'o and lohiau ipo, as they arrive to Kaena, they do their oli kunihi Kaena to ask permission to enter Oahu Nui a Lua. And as they travel down the trailways to Keawa ula, they encounter their first spectacle. And the spectacle is a glorious one. You know, I was born and raised to swim, to fish. I come from a family of fishermen. My dad, my uncles, my cousins were all fishermen. And of course, when you're at the younger age, you know, you get to pai the water, and after you do all the hard work, then you just go out and swim. One of my most favorite pastime activities is lele pahu. Now, lele pahu is the verb, the act, the cultural practice of jumping over something and boom, making the biggest splash in the water as you can. And you know, I've always been a very big nui child, so of course I make the big splashes compared to my smaller, skinnier cousins and siblings. Nevertheless, as the three start walking down towards the whole center, the pico of Keawa ula, they encounter children doing that same expression, lele pahu. And so the grueling sun is very hot, so they stop to rest, and they watch the children jumping off of this rock at Keawa ula, and it's a very, very famous area. This area, when the ocean conditions are rough, is extremely, extremely bad. You know, there's been lots of fatalities in that particular area for people that don't know the waters. Very, very famous lifeguard Brian Keaulana rescued a few people in that area, and we know that as the moiho, and we'll see if we can get some pictures up on this video presentation. But nevertheless, that's where the whole story takes place. They sit down along the ocean's cliff to watch all the children lele pau, boom, and the water goes up, jump up, boom, and then they see this one small kind of VV skinnier girl that takes her position onto the cliff, and she's looking down, and she's a little afraid. She's trembling with fear, but all the children are encouraging her, mai. While this is going on, the joy of wahine o ma'o and lohoiau ipo, they're enjoying it. They're watching everything. But Hi'iaka notices something strange that's occurring in the water. And she notices that there's this huge black spot in the water that tends to gradually move around closer and closer to where the children and this play and this spectacle is taking place. And as Hi'iaka stands to get a closer look while looking down at the cliff, the girl, the little Vivi girl, takes a big sigh, holds her breath, and jumps. And as she jumps, splash, she lands on top of the area where that black spot suddenly moved. And she hit the water and impact so hard that she blacked out and she was just seen floating on the water. And all the children started to scream and swim towards her. But as they started to swim towards her, the black shadow started to swim around and scare everyone off. Hi'iaka dove into the water. And when Hi'iaka dove into the water, all of the ocean conditions of Keawa ula changed. All of the water started to get really, really turbulent. And all of this white wash and strong currents started to make like a vortex of a whirlpool. And it just got very, very gray and gloomy. The clouds covered the sun, so everything got really dark, and this water conditions just started to be all turbulent and spin, and everyone started to worry. It started to get really, really cold, and all of a sudden, poof! Up in the sky shot this huge, huge rock. This rock was so giant, but it flew so high up in the sky that everyone just stopped and looked, and with their eyes, they followed where the rock landed. And the rock was shot up with such force, such mana, that it went over the mountains of Kuahiwi, and it landed far, far out of sight. When everybody turned to the water to see what happened, the ocean conditions went completely malie, calm. The sun appeared once again from the sky. The winds became very, very gentle, just as keawa ula, calming and gentle. And when they looked into the water, they seen Hi'iaka carrying the little girl out. So the people of Keawa ula ran down to help bring aid to Hi'iaka. And they asked Hi'iaka, "Oh, pehea. How, what has just occurred here? And most of all, what was that?" Wahine o Ma'o and Lohiau Ipo ran down to Hi'iaka to warm her, wrap her with kapa to dry her up. And Hi'iaka told the people that that spot was a very, very evil kupua. See, kupua is a supernatural evil deity that sucks and drains mana from individuals that are not aware of its strength, of its mana. And the name of that kupua was Pohakuloa. And she shot and got rid of that particular kupua, shot it so far up in the air that that rock went over Kuahiwi Mountains, which is the mountain ridge that separates Mokuleia and Keawa ula, and the pohaku landed on the other side of the Mokuleia area of the Ahupua'a. And that rock still stands to this day. The rock is so big. Pohaku means stone, means rock, and loa means very large stone. The rock was so huge that all of the mana and content of that kupua is still contained in that rock. And so she shot it far up, and she rid waianae and keawa ula of that evil, evil kupua. And never again will that kupua harm or bring danger to the people of waianae. That stone still exists to this day. And it still resides in Mokuleia. Which stone? I'm not telling you, because the story is, if that stone was to touch the water, it would resurrect and bring back to life its mana and all of its vigor and wreak havoc in the people of Oahu. Now, after Hi'iaka saves the child, she breathes into the child's face, sharing her breath, and the girl reawakens and is overjoyed by the life and her fabulous view of Hi'iaka, Wahine o Ma'olohiau. The people of Waianae bring great celebration and mea'ai to feast in honor of Hi'iaka and what she's done. She travels further down to Kahanahaiki and Makua, where she learns how to slide down the barking sands as a game, as a form of entertainment. And the saga of Hi'iaka continues as she goes on to Makua, to Waianae, and even towards the Ewa districts where she will encounter a reflection, Ho'akale. And that's another story for another session and another year. But this year's theme, Ho'omau, reminds me of Hi'iaka and her consistent and her perseverance in continuing no matter what obstacle she faces, whether she faces kupua, whether she faces aumakua, whether she faces the elements, or even the obstacle of getting from one end of the island spectrum to the other end, she continues to ho'omau and persevere. And even in these times, we're not going to stop our storytelling sessions. Yes, I cannot be with you here live so you can feel my body, my language, my mana, my energy, and my storytelling, but at least we get to ho'omau and see it on social media. I offer that mo'olelo to you. Thank you again for having me, people of City and County of Honolulu. Thank you for asking me. For those of you just tuning in, I'm Kuahiwi Moniz, waianae resident cultural historian, culture instructor. I'm very, very happy to share with you some time with you today. So aloha, ahui ho, pakahia pau, aloha.